Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
It's about seeking truth. It's about speaking truth. It's about keeping it real. That's what we do at Truth Seeker Nation. We keep it 100. Real talk all the time. Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Truth Seeker Nation podcast. My name is Tawana, and I am your host. Last week, I brought up a principle, something that you learned in childhood that I was saying we need to get back. I was given a scenario about you and your siblings receiving a gift to share and how you would behave if some of your siblings were trying to dictate to the others what to do with the gift. And I was relating that to our earth and how we feel about this gift that we've all been given. This week, I want to talk about another type of principle that you most likely learned from interacting with siblings, friends, and cousins when you were growing up. And you may still be in a position where you practice this today because it's slightly different. But overall, it's going to apply with the situation that we have going on, being that we are in this situation or in this position of being governed by other people. So let's see how we're going to tie this in. Let's say that you're playing a game with your siblings and you all have discussed what the rules of the game are. In the midst of playing the game, somebody or some of your siblings decide that they want to change the rules and start doing things differently. How would you respond to that? You'd probably say something like, "No, you can't do that. You can't change the rules in the middle of the game. We already decided how we was going to play. You can't do it like that. I'm not playing anymore." Right? You could decide that you no longer want to play, or you could decide to get on board with the new rules. But a lot of times, you're going to speak up about that. You're not just going to let it go and let them change the rules when you're expected to change with them if you decided at the beginning how you were going to play. So this is easy to see. We all know this. And when it comes to what kind of government that we have, those of us who are here now didn't decide how this government was going to be set up. This was done long before we got here. However, they claim that this government in the United States is following the Constitution, that this is still the supreme law of the land. Okay, let them tell it. The Constitution was written at the end of the 1700s, so approximately 250 years ago. If you do any research on that, you'll find that we are so far removed from what the original Constitution was. In fact, it can be said that we actually have two constitutions: the original Constitution that was written and the Constitution that has been crafted by way of the rulings of the judicial branch of the government, because they have kind of interpreted what does the Constitution mean and what is constitutional law, right? So they've done all these Supreme Court rulings and they have changed a lot from the way things initially were. But okay, without getting too much into all of that, the point is, well, there's 2 points. Number one, we were not the original people to come up with this document, right? We didn't go to the table with these founding fathers to try to talk about what type of government we wanted. We were just born here. But by default, because we haven't stood up against this, we have, in essence, given our consent to it. So it's like we are agreeing to the original governmental structure that was set up. However, and this is my main point that I want to get to, If the original rules of the game can be said to be the Constitution, and now they are operating by some different rules, meaning that they are no longer following that Constitution, then the rules of the game have changed. And what happens when the rules of the game have changed? Just like that simple childhood example, when we have already decided what we're going to do and somebody has tried to change them midstream, we got a problem. We didn't tell you you could do that. That's not what was agreed upon. I'm not playing this game anymore. We have the right to say and do all of the above. This is not the original government that they claim that it is. So they have changed the foundation. And even though we were not the original ones to create it, it doesn't matter. Neither are they. The people that are alive with us now, those in this position of governing us, are not the creators of this document either. But they are claiming to follow it, when in reality, they are not. In fact, it has changed. Okay? Some of the changes have occurred during our lifetime, and some of them have occurred before. But the point is, it's not the same. The rules that they are following is different than what they claim. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that it has been changed at some point because I've done a lot of research about the Constitution. I just love reading and researching. So I know a lot about that. And there are a lot of ways that they are not in line with that original document. Therefore, we are no longer obligated. The contract no longer applies to us because we can clearly see that they done changed the rules of the game midstream. We can wash our hands of this and say that we are not playing this game no more. We're going to do something else. We didn't authorize them to change. We didn't say that that was okay. And like I mentioned last week, thinking about some of this is important because it is about our mindset. We're not ready to take any action yet. We're not trying to go and tear down or reform the government. We can't reform this shit anyway. It is too far gone, in my opinion. But that's not what we're trying to do. Okay. The first step is to change the way we think, to start thinking differently about some of the ideas that we've just kind of taken for granted, meaning that we haven't really considered some of these ideas. Or if we have considered them, we haven't gotten irritated or upset enough about them. It's time for us to realize that we no longer have to accept anything we don't want to accept. Just because this system is what we were born into, what was handed down, doesn't mean that this is the system that needs to be in place. Does there even need to be a system? Something that's overseeing and controlling everybody's movement, what they do and how they do it. Does there even need to be a structure like that? Maybe there needs to be something, but does it need to be this? So we can clearly see that this government is so far from what it needs to be, right? And these people need to be put on notice about that. These people running this government that are in these positions of governing us, they need to be put on notice that we are waking up and we're starting to see things as they are. Consent is required. In order for us to be governed by other people, we have to agree. This is initially how it was at the beginning when it was set up, and how it's supposed to be thought of today. That it's a result of people consenting. But if we're going to consent to something, isn't it important that we know what we're actually consenting to, that we actually have a say in that? We should not be allowing ourselves to be in a position or situation, or at least staying in a situation where we don't have a say in what we're consenting to. Otherwise, we're just consenting. Like, what does that say about us? We are more than this. Our spirits are stronger than this. We have to tap into that. Who are we? What are we about? What do we stand for? That's what we have to tap into. And another thing to keep in mind is when these people, these founding fathers, as they call them, created this constitution or this original government almost 250 years ago, they were going into this knowingly and willingly. Like they had just come out of the Revolutionary War and they were trying to establish their own society. They probably thought that by doing this, they would be stronger. They would be a stronger force to be reckoned with. But the point is, they were going into this as equals. It was not something they were being forced into. They didn't have to do this. But now look how far removed we are from that. After almost 250 years, we are in a position where we are being told nobody is above the law, right? This is no longer willingly or voluntarily. No, this is not that. Basically, we can't get out of this. You have to submit to the US government. Federal law says, right? That's what we have going on now. It started off with people coming to the table, crafting and deciding what kind of government they were going to create, what it was going to look like, all voluntarily. But now it's no longer voluntary. We have to submit. No, baby, we do not. We do not have to submit. We do not have to consent. We have been lied to, just like with so many other things in this world. But it's about us realizing that, looking at it for what it is, and know that you do not have to do anything you do not want to do. Now, of course, I'm not saying you just stop doing it just like today, right? There's a process to this. That's not going to work. And there needs to be a big enough number of people standing on this principle with that type of power, okay? As we talked about before. So, this is what we're building. We're building this army by simply talking about these things, by looking at some of these beliefs and reconsidering them and realizing the actual way that we need to look at them. Because we have been looking at this thing all wrong if we ever thought that we have to submit to other people. Okay. It's really interesting when you start thinking about how much the rules of the game have actually changed. How it started off voluntary, and now that we're on this side, it's not voluntary no more. But the Civil War changed that. That was made very clear in the Civil War, even though we've been told in school that the reason for the Civil War was about slavery, but that's a whole nother topic. I'm not even going to talk about that today. But yeah, the Civil War kind of solidified that people cannot be removed from this government. But we'll see about that shit. That's all I'm saying. That is their perspective. Okay. These people that want us to submit, that is their perspective. And just like I spoke about in a previous episode where I was talking about the bully will try to intimidate and tell the one that they're bullying what they must do, what they have to do, right? But that's the bully's perspective. That is not reality. We will only submit if we believe we have to. Now, of course, for a time, we got to move a certain way. We can't just not submit right now, like I said, because, they do have weapons. We know that. But the point is, we need to focus on our perspective so that we're not intimidated by the perspective of the bully. We need to ensure that when we are looking at these people, we're able to realize that they don't have authority. It's all in our mind. That's where that intimidation would come from, that nervousness when we get in these situations with these people, because we're actually bowing down inside, or we actually feel like we have to cower on the inside because of who they are and this quote unquote authority that they have. But once we get to a point where we don't recognize that, where they're just other people and they look like they're playing a role in a play or playing dress up. Once we have the perspective like that, that is when we will be in the place of power. We will see things as they are because it's as simple as that. It's like we're all in a play. And these people have internalized their role to the point that they believe that they actually have a right to this authority, like they really are somebody, when in reality, we are the ones giving them power over us, and we need to stop doing that. The rules of the game have changed. Therefore, we do not have to participate. We can make our own rules. And on that note, I am going to end this episode today. I hope that you all enjoyed this one. I look forward to talking with you again soon. Have a great week.
Wake up.
It's about seeking truth. It's about speaking truth. It's about keeping it real. That's what we do at Truth Seeker Nation. We keep it 100. Real talk all the time. Let's get it.